case 15C-157. The state of Ohio is represented here this afternoon by County Prosecutor James Pleas together with Assistant Prosecutor Christopher Joyce. Defendant is present with her counsel, Philip Cordova. The court does have before a original plea agreement that is filed with the clerk of courts and which bears the signature of the parties. If the state then would bring us up to speed on the procedural history of the case and read the plea agreement into the record, Mr. Pleas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Mares was indicted by the Geauga County Grand Jury in an indictment that was filed on September 24th, 2013, being a two-count indictment, count one being tampering with evidence, a felony of the third degree, count two being theft, a felony of the fifth degree. After working with Mr. Cordova on this case, the state and the defense did reach a plea agreement, which was just filed in court today. And the plea agreement is as follows. The defendant will plead guilty to count two of the indictment, to wit, theft, a felony of the fifth degree in violation of 2913.02A1. At sentencing, the state will seek leave to dismiss count one. The state acknowledges receipt of full restitution to Cardinal Schools. At sentencing, the state will recommend community control with 180 days in jail and that the defendant pay costs. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pleas. Sound accurate, Mr. Cordova?
It is accurate. Your Honor, I've had the opportunity, ample time to go over the plea agreement with Ms. Mares. She's here prepared to plead guilty to count two of the indictment, the theft, the felony of the fifth degree.
All right, you want to bring her forward, please, Mr. Cordova, and good afternoon to you, Ms. Mares.
Good afternoon.
And if you'll stand to the right of your counsel, Ms. Mares, so you switch positioning. Thank you very much. And Ms. Mares, do you understand this plea agreement?
I do.
You had a chance to read the plea agreement?
Yes, I do.
And to discuss it with Mr. Cordova?
Yes.
Has he answered all your questions?
Yes, he has.
Do you feel you've been well represented?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to talk to Mr. Cordova?
Yes.
And Mr. Cordova, do you affirmatively indicate to the court that the nature of the crime to which Ms. Mares is pleading guilty to has been described to her, including its essential elements?
It has, Your Honor.
And you agree with that, Ms. Mares?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you understand by pleading guilty, you are waiving your right to any trial, and you are saying, I committed this offense, I'm guilty of it, I waive any defenses that I may have to it, and I accept responsibility. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anyone made any promises, threats, or inducements in order to get you to plead guilty other than what's contained in the plea agreement?
No.
And on that token, in the plea agreement, there's a recommendation from the state of Ohio. You understand that any recommendation, be it from the state, be it from your counsel, even a joint recommendation agreed to by counsel, the court doesn't have to accept those. The court can, if your plea is accepted, impose any penalty that is allowable by the law of the state of Ohio. You understand that?
Yes.
Now, you understand that if your plea is accepted by the court, it can proceed to judgment and sentence. You understand that?
Yes.
And how old are you, Ms. Mares?
37.
What's your level of education?
High school graduate.
Obviously, you can read.
Yes.
Are you presently under the influence of any drug or alcohol?
No, Your Honor.
Do you take any medications?
No.
Are you on any medications?
No.
Put you that way. And are you under the care of a psychiatrist?
No.
Have you ever been found to be mentally ill or incompetent?
No.
Are you a United States citizen?
Yes.
The penalty range for a fifth-degree felony, which is what the theft offense, the count two of the indictment includes the prospect of a prison term. If you received a prison term on a fifth-degree felony, it would be for a period ranging from a minimum of 6 months to a maximum of 12 months. Understand that?
Yes.
And you could be fined up to $2,500. Understood?
Yes.
You could also be ordered to make restitution to any victim, and that the restitution actually is addressed in the plea agreement. Do you understand that's the one item that can be ordered by the court? And you would be ordered to pay court costs of prosecution, I understand.
Yes.
All right, now, I will also advise that were you to ever receive a prison sentence as a result of these proceedings or this conviction for this plea, on your release from prison, you could, at the option of the parole authority, be placed on a type of supervision, or better known as probation. It's called post-release control in that context. That would be optional on the part of the parole authority. But if they exercise that option, placed you on post-release control, they could do so for a period of up to 3 years. And were you to violate any rule or condition of post-release control, you could be sent back to prison for up to 1/2 your original sentence. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Then you understand that by pleading guilty, you're waiving your constitutional rights. You understand that?
Yes.
Now you understand that you're waiving your right to a jury trial. This is one of those constitutional rights. Or a trial to the court if you didn't want a jury trial. You recognize your plea guilty waives that right.
Yes.
And you're waiving the right to have the state produce evidence sufficient to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, that otherwise you are presumed innocent. You recognize your plea of guilt. You're waiving the right to have the state produce evidence sufficient to prove your guilt to that standard.
Yes.
And you waive your right by pleading guilty to face, question, confront, and cross-examine witnesses against you, even Mr. Cardinal on your behalf. You understand that?
Yes.
And you're waiving your right, too, to produce witnesses of your own. And if they would not attend voluntarily, to use the court's subpoena power to make them come appear to testify. I understand you plead guilty, is that right? Last, by pleading guilty, you're waiving your right to refuse to testify at trial. And if you chose to exercise that right, your refusal could not be used against you at trial in any way. I understand your plea guilty, is that right?
Yes.
Do you have any question about any of your rights?
No, Your Honor.
Any question about anything whatsoever that we're doing here today?
No.
And you're changing your plea from not guilty to count 2 of the indictment. I understand that.
Yes.
And Mr. Cordova, you're satisfied that your client is entering the plea knowingly and voluntarily with full appreciation of the ramifications of doing so?
Yes, I do.
And you do want to plead guilty, Ms. Mares, to the 5th-degree felony, count 2 of the indictment?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you admit that you committed the acts that constitute that offense?
Yes.
The court then accepts that plea of guilt, makes a finding of guilt based upon the plea, and subject to a sentencing proceeding, convicts Shannon Mares of theft of the felony of the 5th degree. At this time does not impose a sentence, but instead orders a pre-sentence investigation be prepared and that we reconvene for sentencing at a time which we will have the benefit of that pre-sentence investigation for the courts and the parties' review. During the interim, the state have any problem with the current bond, which is a personal recognizance, Mr. Pleas?
No, Your Honor, we'd ask that it be continued.
And Ms. Mares, do you live at the same address that you lived at the time of the arraignment on Old State? You're getting our mail?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then, the court will continue the bond. Mr. Cordova, anything further? For the
Nothing
record?
further. Thank you.
Any question, Ms. Mares?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else for the record before adjournment, Mr. Clerk?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, then we are adjourned. Goodbye.